I shared a prison cell with that man, and what I saw has kept me awake for 30 years. I was 64 when I told this story. And I swear, if I lie with even one word, may heaven seal my mouth forever. I was not a good man. When I was arrested, I was an armed thief, breaking into homes in the middle of the night. I once stabbed a man over a loaf of bread, and when the Roman soldiers threw me in prison, I thought my life was over. But I met him. No, not just another prisoner. Him, the one the guards whispered about as King of the Jews, the one the crowds outside called a deceiver. But me, I had never seen anyone like him. The day they brought him in, I was slumped in a corner, hands bound behind my back. I remember it clearly, because the sky was so gray, as if something was wrong with the heavens themselves. They threw him into the cell like a rotting sack. He hit the stone floor hard, blood dripping from his mouth onto his tunic, coughing blood and sand. But what chilled me wasn't the sight, it was his eyes. He didn't look like a man about to die. He didn't look like someone betrayed. He looked like he already knew everything. The first night was hell. I was beaten. Caius, a notorious Roman guard, took joy in torturing prisoners before supper. But him, he wasn't beaten for fun. He was beaten to see if he would resist. A whip with 3 tails and hooks made from sheep bones. Every strike tore his flesh like wet paper. I turned my face away, but I could still hear the blood splatter on the stone. He didn't scream. I swear to God he didn't scream. Only once, I heard a sharp breath, but not from pain. Someone had whispered into his ear, "If you are truly the Son of God, why not call angels to rescue you?" I thought he would reply, but no. He just closed his eyes and his lips released a sound in a language I didn't understand. It felt like a prayer, but it carried sorrow, not hope. Caius laughed. "Who's he praying to?" A blind fantasy? I dared not speak, because I saw, through the blood, his flesh was faintly glowing. This is the part that's haunted me for 30 years. On the 3rd night, when the prison was black as pitch, I woke to someone singing. No, not singing. A sound that wasn't from this world. Gentle like mist, echoing like stones breaking underwater. I turned and saw him, sitting up, eyes open, gazing toward a hole in the ceiling where light leaked in. I whispered, "You're still alive?" He turned and looked at me, and I saw no blood on his face, no wounds, only a gentle glow, making me feel like I had never truly lived until that moment. He spoke, for the first time in 3 nights. "Are you afraid?" I didn't answer, because I was crying. After the 3rd night, the prison changed. Not because the guards grew kinder, not because we were fed more, but because something in the air had shifted. A scent like burnt ash and rusted iron filled the halls. And every night I heard whispers, though no one was speaking. Whispers not from mouths, from the walls, from the chains, from the shadows behind the bars. "You are beside him. You will be taken. Do not sleep near him. Something watches, but not the guards." I began to doubt myself. Maybe I'd gone mad like so many prisoners. But then one night, Bardas, a man who had survived 5 other prisons, screamed, "Don't let him look at you when you sleep. Don't let him look." And the next morning, Bardas was dead. No wounds, no blood, no signs of torture. But his eyes were wide open, as if he'd seen something that a soul cannot survive. I'll never forget the 6th night, a night none of us in that prison would ever forget. Rain began to fall, not normal rain, but black rain, water dripping from the ceiling like burning oil. The guards ran for cover, but we were locked inside in the stench of burning and cold. I backed into a corner, shaking. He remained silent. But just then, the massive stone door creaked open, without anyone touching it. No footsteps, no keys, just a gust of freezing wind. And I saw a shadow standing at the door. It had no human shape, no face, but it looked at him, and I knew. It hadn't come to take him, it had come to kneel. I clearly heard it speak, not from a mouth. "You are not the prisoner. You are the sentence." Then he stood, though still bleeding, and walked toward the light. No one dared stop him. but the guards didn't see. I screamed, "Do you see that? He's walking out. He's leaving." The guard laughed. "What?" "That one's still lying there unconscious." I turned back, and yes, his body still lay there motionless. So, who did I see walking out? A mad thought flashed through my mind. Maybe more than one thing was inside that form, and maybe his soul was fighting something nobody could ever comprehend. The next morning, the warden entered with 3 massive soldiers. They said nothing, just stood and stared at him. No orders were given, but somehow we all knew. This was the day he would be taken to die. I shouted, "No! He didn't do anything. He never fought back, never cursed anyone." A soldier slapped me so hard my mouth bled, but when he turned back toward him, he froze, face pale. His hand dropped the whip. I saw his eyes redden, like he'd just watched his mother be murdered. And then the unthinkable happened. He knelt. The executioner, the torturer, knelt before him, in complete silence. "Forgive me. I didn't know. You were..." His voice broke, but he said nothing. Just laid a bloody, tender hand upon the soldier's head, gentler than sunrise. At that moment, I heard a crack inside my chest, not of broken bones, but the sound of a rotted heart beating again for the first time. He walked out. Not a single guard dared touch him. On the path, birds fell silent. Winds stilled. The sky neither lit nor darkened. Only a strange light, like a sunset that never fully formed. I lunged toward the bars and screamed, "What is your name? Tell me, I want to remember." He turned slowly and smiled, the most painful and beautiful smile I've ever seen. And then he spoke in a voice I swear no human could make. "I am the way, the truth, and the life." He disappeared behind the stone door, and I never saw him again. But that night, the entire prison trembled, without an earthquake. A searing white-blue light flooded through the bars like light rising from inside the earth. A voice filled the prison, not from a throat, but from the heart. He was beaten so the beater could be forgiven. He was imprisoned so guilty souls could be freed. And he died, not to end things, but to begin them. The next morning, the guards didn't open the doors, because they had all gone insane. They laughed through the night, then cried, then bashed their heads against the walls until they died. No one could explain it. Only I, the sole survivor, still hear that voice, echoing in my heart whenever I'm tempted to sin. Now I am old. No one remembers I was once a prisoner. No one asks about him anymore. But every night before I sleep, I still whisper that one line. He was not the prisoner. He was the sentence. And if you ask me who he was, I'm not a man of scripture. I know no theology. I'm just a thief who once lived among blood and tears. But I'll tell you, with all my heart, I shared a prison cell with God, and in that darkness, I saw the first light of my life. I've lived 40 more years since the night he was taken. I once thought I'd die in prison or in the street with a dagger in hand, but strangely, after he left, the guards never touched me again. A week later, I was released. No sentence, no paperwork, no explanation. Just one line from a new soldier, growled like thunder. "He is no longer a criminal. He has met the one before whom kings bow." I wandered for years. No one believed my story. Some mocked me, some laughed, some silently wiped away tears. But no one truly believed who he really was. Because if they did, they'd have to live differently. And living differently is much harder than locking God in the past. I sought out those who called themselves his followers. They preached, held rituals, sang hymns, but none of them had ever seen his eyes, heard his breath through pain, smelled the blood on his back after the whips. I did. I have no education. I can't read holy books, but I have memory, raw, alive, undeniable, that God once sat in a cell like the lowest of men. He did not preach from podiums. He did not sit on high chairs. He sat on cold stone floors where men were thrown like trash, and he loved without saying a word. I once hated myself, wanted to die from the filth I carried, but when I remember that moment, when he placed his hand on the head of the man who tortured him and forgave with just a look, I know if he forgave him, then he has forgiven me. And you too. I don't know who you are. Maybe you're in pain, on the run, hiding behind a tough face. Maybe you've been in a prison too, not made of stone, but of guilt, doubt, or the past. But if you are searching for him, know this: he is not in the brightest places, he is in the darkest, because that's where lost souls like mine can finally see the light. And I, a man who once lived in blood and filth, a man who once had no purpose. Today I can say to the world, with all its sorrow and all its joy, I have met God, and I will never be alone again.